What's up, guys? How's it going? Welcome to the session on uh, CAT 2018 morning slot parajumbles, right? So just a second. Yeah. So welcome, guys, to this short 30-minute session in which we shall be discussing the parajumbles that were asked in your CAT 2018 in the morning slot. See, guys, the idea here is to just give you the flavor of the kind of questions that you can be expecting in CAT a couple of days from now, right? Today is Friday, I think, and day after tomorrow, I guess, I think all of you will be appearing for your CAT. So and yeah, as you can see, like I see, it's the most important thing at this point of time in these last couple of days, in these last few hours, is just that you guys maintain your composure and your calm. It's extremely important for you guys to realize, to not let anything uh, temper with your temperament. Okay, so see, guys, it's a game of percentiles, right? It's all about getting the right percentile. It's not about getting scoring on a 100% scale. You're not scoring, you're not being scored on a 100% scale. You're being scored on a 100 percentile scale, right? So percentile basically means it's about relative performance, and as we have seen, and you must have heard from other educators as well. We have seen over the years that it's mainly the question of one being able to pick up the right questions at the right time and not get stuck on the wrong ones, right? It has never been, CAT has never been about so solving questions and having your basics and fundamentals in place is obviously key. That definitely is something that cannot be done away with. But at the same time, that does not at all in any way discount the significance or the importance of knowing your strengths and and knowing your weaknesses and threats, right? Like being able to avoid questions which would definitely trap a lot of people who might be appearing for CAT, right? So not being one of those people who gets trapped in a question and spends like 5 to 7 minutes in just that particular question, and has hardly has ends up not even having looked at other questions, the easy questions, the sitters that they could have solved in probably 30-40 seconds, right? So it's all about that. So it's totally a game of temperament from this point on. Okay, and that's what you need to maintain in the next couple of days. Okay, all right. So and hence my and you guys have come a long way, right? I know the how arduous this whole preparation cycle can be. I've seen a lot of students go through a lot of stress because of that. Don't let it get you. Okay, you've come quite far. Don't stop now. You're almost there. Okay, and that's the message I've been trying to drive to you guys in these sessions that I've been taking over these last over this week. Okay, anyhow, so enough motivation, I guess. So the agenda, guys, as I told you already, is just to talk about, basically your go through the parajumbles of the morning slot, right, of CAT 2018. So you'll have your own morning slot parajumbles, I guess, in a couple of days. Okay, so let's go through this. CAT verbal logic questions. Okay, morning slot. Now, verbal logic, more specifically, I would say it's parajumble. Okay, take it. So let's start, guys. And the first parajumble is on your screen. I'm not sure how many of you guys are watching. If there's anyone, guys, I would want you guys, normally there's no point if I just you know take you through the if I solve the whole parajumble for you, right, before you yourself have tried it before you've tried it for yourself, right? So what I would say is that you give it a shot by yourself for about a bit, and once you're done solving it, once you have your own version of your answer, let me know and we can start off going through it. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wait for like a minute. Okay, and or maybe you can just pause the video, right? All right, I don't really need to wait mid format. So guys, people who might be watching this later, because okay, so you can definitely pause the video and just while this parajumble is on your screen, and solve it, and then sorry, excuse me, and then unpause it and go through my check out the way I have solved it. Okay, so let's go through the sentences one by one. So the first sentence, guys, it says that, wait, let me get a laser point here. Impartiality and objectivity are fiendishly difficult concepts that can cause all sorts of injustices, even if transparently implemented. Okay, even if transparently implemented. Okay, all right. It encourages us into. So the first sentence, guys, the first statement, as you can see, it's quite. It's like a not, I wouldn't say like, you can say it's a hypothesis that has been stated. Okay, this is how things work. All right. It doesn't have any particular clues that can help. Any grammatical clues that can help relate this to other sentences. It doesn't seem to have any. It's just a logic or a concept or a hypothesis that has been mentioned. Okay. Usually what happens is these kind of hypotheses, they either come at the start of the sentence. Okay, when the author has given a statement that he thinks is correct, and then he goes on to exemplify that. That's one way of structuring it. Another way of structuring it could be when this comes as a conclusion to a discussion that the author has delved into in the first three sentences. Okay, in the earlier part of the paragraph, basically. So it could be so one, in all probability, given how much of a complete statement and hypothesis it is by itself, and it doesn't seem to have any connectives that will directly connect it with other sentences. I think it seems like it will either be the first sentence or the last sentence of the paragraph. Okay, so let's look at although we cannot be 100% sure because we have not read the other questions, right? So let's read the other questions and then come to a conclusion to it. Okay, so the next sentence, it says that it encourages us into bubbles of people we know. Now, guys, a very important clue here is it encourages us, right? We know and like. It encourages us into bubbles of people we know and like, while banding us to different perspectives. But the deeper problem of transparency lies in the words within happens and much more. Okay, so guys, this is a big clue here. This right here is a big clue. This it here is a big clue. So this is referring to and a sentence, a part of a sentence, right, which must be in one of these other sentences, and as you can see, it is there in this sentence. So there's a very good chance that 2 should come right after 3, right? So 32 might make a strong pair. Okay, 32 might make a strong pair. Let me get a pen and mark this for you. So yeah, so this part right here, wait a second. This part right here would just 1 minute, guys. So as I said, this part right here much more refers to this part, and then for that it might make a strong link between 3 and 2, right? 3 and 2. Okay, let's read the third sentence. Twitter's website says that tweets you are likely to care about most will show up first in your timeline, based on accounts you interact with most, tweets you engage with, and much more. Okay, and now try to read this in the continuation of this. It encourages us into bubbles of people we know and like, right? Into bubbles of, not bumbles, sorry, bubbles of people we know and like. So it refers to Twitter, right? While banding us to different perspectives, but the deeper problem of transparency lies in the words and much more, which is mentioned here. Okay, then let's read the fourth one. We are only told some of the basic principles and we can't see the algorithm itself, making it hard for citizens to analyze the system sensibly or fairly, or be convinced of its impartiality and objectivity. Okay, let me use a different color to mark this. Now guys, see, but the deeper problem of transparency lies in the words. So in this sentence, the author starts talking about a deeper problem. Okay, and if you read the fourth sentence after the sentence, it does seem like that he's expounding upon his, like he's gone on to expound upon the deeper problem in the fourth sentence, right? So the fourth sentence would probably it goes on to probably describe what this deeper problem of transparency, which lies in these words and much more is, right? Like we are making only some of the basic principles, we are only of some of the basic principles, we can't see the algorithm, etc. Makes it hard for the citizens to analyze, okay, and etc, etc, etc. So this definitely makes a link here, right? This deeper problem has been described here. So 24 makes a link, and 32 makes a link, right? So I'll just write it here. 32, you have 32 and 24, these two make a link, right? Well, my handwriting is really abysmal, totally abysmal. I'm sorry. Wait a second, let me just get rid of this. Let's just remember it, okay? So right, so that's what makes this link. So you have 32, you have 24, that means you're already sure about 3, 2 and 4. The only thing, the question now is whether one should be the first sentence or the last sentence. Now let's read one once again. Impartiality and objectivity are fiendishly difficult concepts that can cause all sorts of injustices even if transparently implemented. Okay, so one version could be that you start with this. Twitter's website says blah 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 blah. It encourages us into this, and then but the deeper problem is this, and etc etc etc. And then he talks about the what exactly is the deeper problem. Okay, and then if he goes on to say that impartiality and objectivity are fiendishly difficult concepts that can cause all sorts of injustices even if transparently admitted. Okay, I think in that case it might make some sense, but it would make even more sense if you had one at the start of the paragraph, like if it started with this statement and then he goes on to describe why the statement is correct. Okay, so you have impartiality and objectivity are fiendishly difficult concepts that can cause all sorts of injustices even if transparently implemented. Okay, then he goes on to give you an instance, like for example, Twitter's website says that blah 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 blah, etc etc and much more. This encourages us into bubbles of people we know, etc etc, but the deeper problem lies with this, and this is the problem, right? So 1, 3, 2, 4 would make a more would make better sense, right? And hence that is the answer. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Okay, the second question is, guys, is actually quite simple. You know, it is a very short and quite simple, and I'm sure most of the people must have attempted this question in CAT last year. So all right, so listen, so let's go through this, go through the what do you say, all the sentences one by one. The eventual diagnosis was skin cancer, and after treatment all seemed well. Okay, so maybe you can already see that this definitely cannot be the first or the last sentence, or at least it doesn't seem like it should probably come right one in the middle, some probably, where, because see, the definite article the is obviously referring to some diagnosis of something, right? Of something that has been talked about before. Okay, all right. The viola player didn't know what it was, and nor did her GP. Okay, all right, we'll see. Then a routine scan showed it had come back. Okay, this might be a clue. It had come back. That means, wait a second. Let me use a different color for this. Let's just note for now that this might be a clue. Okay, it can be a clue, and okay, and spread to her lungs. All right. It started with a lump on Kathy Perkins' finger. Okay, so again, this also refers to the same it. If you see, this refers to the same it. It started with a lump on Kathy Perkins' index finger. The viola player probably refers to Kathy, right? Let's use a different ink for that. The viola player probably refers to Kathy Perkins, and it started with a lump on Kathy Perkins' finger, the viola player, and then it starts with the second sentence comes into play, right? The viola player didn't know what it was, so this it refers to it, this, right? Nor did her GP. All right. Then, so 42 we are pretty sure about. So now it can either be 42 4231 or it can be 4213, right? But guys, see, and this is where this comeback phrase becomes quite important. So let's so if you look at this phrase here, then a routine scan showed that it had come back. Okay, this whatever this was diagnosed as, this has come back. That means it would show that it had come back only after it has gone away for some time, right? After it has been treated, after it must have had been treated in the past. Only after it must have had been treated in the past can you say that it came back, right? And that's why, and then that's why it's related to after all treatment. After treatment, all seemed well, especially the all seemed well. This part proves that one should come before 3. One should come before 3. Okay, and this it obviously refers to the same lump, right? These it's refers to the lump. So okay, so the correct sequence will turn out to be 4. It started with the lump on Katie Perkins' finger. The Vala player didn't know what it was, this lump, nor did her GP. Her obviously refers back to Katie Perkins' finger. Then a routine scan, the eventual diagnosis was skin cancer, and after treatment all seemed well. Then a routine scan showed it had come back. All seemed well, but now it showed that it had come back and spread to her lungs. Okay, so I hope it's clear, guys. I hope there is substantial clarity. I'll just mark this. This her also refers to the Viola player and Kathy index, and this her also refers to that, the same. Okay, all right. So that's about this slide, guys. Let's move on to the next parajumble. How much time do we? I think we have 12 minutes, right? So that should be enough time for the next parajumble as well. Okay, so here we go. The fourth question. Let's see. All right. Okay, let's go through the sentences one by one. But now we have another group, the unwitting enablers. Okay, we have another group. All right. So that means there must have been another one more group apart from that, if this is not the first sentence, that is. Okay, let's see. So democracy and high levels of inequality of the kind that have come to characterize the United States are simply incompatible. Okay, so basically a standalone statement has been made. Democracy and high levels of inequality of the kind that have come to characterize the United States are simply incompatible. They are not compatible. Okay. Believing these people are working for a better world. These people must refer to something, right? Let's see what it refers to. Are working for a better world. They are actually at most they are, again, it's the same people, right? They are actually at most chipping away at the margins, making slight course corrections and ensuring the system goes on as it is, uninterrupted. Now, very rich people will always use money to maintain their political and economic power. So it is quite probable, guys, that the word that the pronouns these and they probably refer to these, right? Very rich people will always will always use money to maintain their political and economic power, and believing these people are working for a better world, they are actually at most chipping away at the margins, making slight course corrections and ensuring the system goes on as it is, uninterrupted. Okay, so guys, it quite seems like but now we have another group, the unwitting enablers. They are actually at most, okay. Okay, but there's another important point here. There's another important point here that we can make, that these people might also be referring to the unwitting enablers, right? It might also be referring to the unwitting enablers, right? Because see, let me just get a different color here. So we have another group, the unwitting enablers. These people might as well be referring to this, right? Let's wait a second. All right, so as I was saying, so this is a standalone statement. Okay, it's quite clear that these three sentences, 4, 3 and 1, they should go 1, 3, 4 or in some sequence together, and the second statement will be your core statement, the statement that has been stated, and the other statements are exemplifying it, like very much like the first parajumble that we solved. So the first statement makes a statement or a hypothesis that says that democracy and high levels of inequality of the kind that have come to characterize the United States are simply incompatible. Like democracy and this kind of inequality cannot go hand in hand. Okay, there's something that is off here, right? That's the essence of the sentence. So definitely seems like the opener. Next, now believing these people are working for a better world. Okay, believing these people working for a better world. These people, this reference cannot come after 2, that's for sure, right? Because this has to refer to some people that have been referred to already, right? So, and also, but now we have another group, the unwitting enablers. This also doesn't make sense after 2. So what does make sense after 2 is option number 4, question number, like sentence number 4. So democracy, etc., are simply incompatible. Very rich people always use money to maintain their political and economic power. All right, and then either it will be option sentence number 1 or sentence number 3. If we go for sentence number 3, believing these people are working for a better world, they are actually at most chipping away at the margins, make etc. Okay, these people, and it might seem like it is referring to this very rich people, but in that case what will happen is, if you place 1 after 3, in that case like this part does not, the part that will not make sense is that the very rich people like what the very rich people do has already been explained. This has to be about a different set of people, right? It's because of that reason that these people, or they cannot refer to very rich people again, because what very rich people do, they always use money to maintain their political and economic power. That has been already cleared. After that, you cannot have again a reference to these people and again refer, okay, but even if they are trying to do something, etc., they are doing this. It has to be a separate group. Okay, so that's why after 2, when you have 4, you need to have the introduction of another set of people, which are the unwitting enablers. Okay, so you go by 2, the democracy and these are incompatible. Very rich people do this, and then, but now we have another group, the unwitting enablers. And now you can see that believing these people, now these people would refer to your unwitting enablers, are working for a better world, and they are actually at most, okay, etc. So even these people, the unwitting, see, that's why they are unwitting. The key also lies with the word unwitting here. They are unwitting because they think that they are helping, but they're actually, at most, they are just chipping away at the margins and making just slight course corrections and ensuring that the system goes on as it is, uninterrupted, right? And hence the correct sequence will be 2, 4, 1 and 3. 2, 4, 1, 3 will be your correct sequence. Okay, as you can see in the answers here. Let's come to the last one. Let's come to the last session. I'm just checking how much time do we have remaining. We still have 5 minutes, right? All right, let's look at the last question. Okay, so the woodlands canopy, let's go through the sentences quickly. The woodlands canopy receives most of the sunlight that falls on the trees. The woodlands canopy receives most of the sunlight that falls on the trees. All right, so maybe we are talking about there has to be some mention of a woodland somewhere and some mention of sunlight, or because otherwise this would seem like a very weird weird start to a paragraph, right? But it very well can be, because sometimes that happen that it is actually done with parajumbles to make them difficult, right? The first opening sentence might not seem like a proper opening sentence. That does happen. Okay, so the first sentence, it says the woodlands canopy receives most of the sunlight that falls on the trees. All right, swifts do not confine themselves to woodlands but hunt wherever there are insects in the air. All right, so maybe we are talking about some kind of birds, right? Maybe swifts are a kind of birds, I'm not sure, but okay, there's some information you want to know about how they don't confine themselves to the woodlands but hunt wherever there are insects. Okay, the third sentence, it says with their streamlined bodies. So I think this there definitely refers to swifts, right? Swifts, and yeah, it's also mentioned here, right? It's quite clear. I didn't have to go and refer it back here. Are agile flats ideally adapted to twisting and turning through the air as they chase flying insects. uh, okay, as the chase flying insects and the creatures that form their staple diet. Now guys, see something that's very clearly we can mention here, we can understand here is that sentence 2 should definitely come after sentence 3, because sentence 3 mentions here that these swifts, they are agile flyers, they are ideally adapted to twisting and turning through the air as they chase flying insects. And then it goes on to tell, mention more about flying insects in the context of swifts, that they are the creatures that form the staple diet of the swifts, right? So they have kind of given the introduction of the insects in terms of how they are important for the swifts, right? So when they mention insects with the swifts in another sentence, that should definitely come after this sentence, right? Because only after they have introduced insects as the creatures that form the staple diet of the swift, only after that can you mention this insects again in a sentence with the swifts, without having to describe that they form their staple diet, right? See, if at all you're going to be introducing the idea that insects are the staple diet of swifts, along with mentioning the swift in the same sentence, if you're gonna mention that they are the staple diet, it will always be in the first sentence in which you mention swift and insects together, right? It will never be in the second sentence. Okay, like you start talking about insects and swift, and then suddenly you mention, okay, by the way, they are also the staple diets. It doesn't make logical sense. What makes logical sense is when you're introducing it for the first time, if you want to mention, you mention it right there, which they have done here, right? That flying insects, they are the staple diet of the swifts, and hence this sentence should definitely come before the second sentence. Okay, so I'm not saying immediately before, I'm just saying it has to like it should just come before. There might be a sentence in between these two, there might not be, but this should definitely be before too. Okay, hundreds of thousands of insects fly in the sunshine up above the canopy. The canopy, guys, this is important, right? Up above the canopy, that means this canopy must have been mentioned earlier. Some falling prey to swifts and swallows. Some falling prey to swifts and swallows. Okay, okay, so falling prey to swifts and swallows. Okay, so hundreds of thousands of insects fly in the sunshine, and then again it's again the sunshine up above, right? So which sorry, let me use a different highlighter so that there's no confusion here. Wait a second. Okay, now look at this part. This sunshine up here also mentions the sunlight receives, the woodlands canopy receives most of the sunlight that falls on the trees, right? Most of the sunlight. Okay, so there is a relation, there's some relation here, that woodlands canopy receives most of the sunlight that falls on the trees. Hundreds of thousands of insects fly in the sunshine above the canopy. Which canopy? The canopy, and this canopy has been mentioned here already, right? So this wait a minute, so let me just 1 second. Okay, this canopy is the canopy, refers to the woodlands canopy, right? So the woodland canopy has been mentioned here for the first time, and then the topic goes on to it narrows down to insects flying in the sunshine above the same canopy, right? And hence 1 and 4 together should make sense. 1, 4. Some falling prey to swifts and swallows. Okay, so 1, 4, and then with their streamlined bodies, swifts are agile. So see, and also understand what is happening chronologically, right? The insects are falling prey to swifts and swallows, and now the author goes on to describe how the swifts are able to trap these insects and make them the staple diet, make them the part of the diet, like basically eat them, right? Hunt them. So with the streamlined body, swifts are agile, fast, ideally adapted to twisting and turning, and this twisting and turning makes sense because they are falling down the canopy, right? So that as they chase flying insects, the creatures that form their staple diet. Swifts, then finally he goes on to say, swifts do not confine themselves to woodlands, but hunt wherever they are, there are insects, right? So 1, 4, 3, 2 would be the correct sequence, right? I hope guys it's clear, that it's clear to you. Okay, and hence the correct answer would be 1, 4, 1, 4, 3, 2. Sorry, 1, 4, 3, 2. I didn't say 1, 4, 3, 1, right? 1, 4, 3, 2 would be the correct answer. Alright, so yeah, as I said. Alright, so guys, towards the end, I would just want to point out to a course that we at Unacademy are coming up with you for your of your CAT preparation. So the CAT will be over by day after tomorrow this time, right? And you should have your time to just relax a bit for a couple of days, or maybe 3-4 days max. And from 2nd of December, we are starting a crash course for that for a complete period of 1 month, a complete 1 month period. Okay, where we'll be taking care of quant, LRV, VRC, all topics, basically decision making and logical reasoning and quantitative aptitude and DI and verbal ability, all of it. The quantitative aptitude part will be taken care of by Anish sir, and Ria is going to be taking care of decision making and logical reasoning. I myself will take care of verbal ability, right? It's a session that will have classes throughout the week, so well, you might not want to miss out on this. It's quite it will be quite useful. And if you're going to be using a code to join Unacademy Plus to be a part of this course, you can use my referral code mishra.anupam112 to avail a discount of 10%. Okay, with that, guys, I'll sign off, and wish you all the very best for your exams. Okay, and don't worry too much. As I said, don't stress yourself out too much. You've come quite far. You don't need to. Okay, you've come far enough. At this point of time, you just need to maintain your a calm and composed temperament. Okay, and everything will be fine. Okay, thanks a lot, guys. Have a great time, and I'll see you in the next session. Thank you so much.